What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, bringing you some good news on a Monday. In fact, we all know that if hating on Miss AH had a high salary, half the world would be extraordinarily rich. But I have some great news. In fact, it would appear that the latest age film is getting absolutely eviscerated by critics. This via Giant Freaking Robot. AH is seeing her new movie get horrendous reviews. She signed on for the role in Gully back in 2018. At the time, her life was very different. That was the year Aquaman came out when she starred as Mara for the DC. When she started as Mara for DC. She likely believed she was signing on for a more artistic-looking project that would vary her career and help her prove her work as an actress. That isn't what happened with Gully. Instead, the movie came out a few days ago, and it's seeing some of the most horrendous review scores possible. After only a few days, Gully has a 31% tomato score and Rotten Tomatoes and a 1.4 review on IMDb, and is seeing confused reviews from critics nationwide. The new AH movie could have looked like a project where she had a side role and gained a little attention, but the movie was so disconnected and confusing that reviewers aren't finding anything good to say about the entire film. It's rough. It's not as rough as Cats, maybe, but it's still not a good time. AH posted on Instagram about the release, simply saying that it's out there. She has limited comments on her post, so it seems safe to assume that it isn't about the movie exactly, but it's her past relationship with other people, which has seen her become a controversial figure that gets talked about a fair amount online. The movie stars Charlie Plummer, Kevin Harrison Jr., Jacob Lattimore, John Corbett. I don't know any of these people. The story centers around three teenagers growing up in LA. The teens have troubled childhoods. When bad behavior breaks out in LA, the rules for normal society are off. The teens take off on an intense journey across the city for 48 hours that include a lot of partying with occasional appearances by AH, Terrence Howard, and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Because Gully was so reviewed so poorly, most saying it was confusing and not worth the time, it may simply be forgotten. It seems to be the forgettable kind of terrible, not the kind that people make memes about online. That may be fortunate for AH, as she can likely move past that right into Aquaman 2, which will likely begin filming soon. While many wanted her to be fired from the movie, insiders are hearing that she's getting more screen time since the controversy surrounding her has been calming down. Well, if we look at the reviews, it's got a 29%. 29. Without correct balance of grit and resilience, it's more along the lines of exploration, a melodrama, exploitation melodrama, than a proper portrait of the modern South Central. A movie needs to go somewhere, and Gully basically doesn't. If there's an ultimate point that Gully is trying to make, it gets lost among the video game aesthetics and faux wisdom dished out through much of the film. As aimless as trio of wayward teenage protagonists, this gritty coming-of-age drama squanders a talented young cast under the weight of heavy-handed urban cliches. A disastrous and confusing drama. The film overreaches or overstates at every significant moment. Like nobody, there's literally nothing. Ambition is not lacking in Gully, it's just the execution that falls decidedly short. There are a few, like, here's someone who gave it a 5 out of 5. Gully is a gritty, honest, and visually unforgettable, a definite must-see. I mean, read the room. There's room, obviously, for people to disagree, but if you're one of only 3 people giving it a positive score and you give it a perfect score, you're probably a shill. Now, this on top of more bad news, as JD has now asked the ACLU to prove that she donated her settlement, which they won't be able to do, of course. He claimed the previous claims were that she never donated the money while hoping to overturn the ruling in his other case. In reply, her legal team stated that she has done nothing dishonest with her donations to both charities and that she pledged to pay over 10 years. Something they added was, quote, understood by the ACLU. So she claimed that she was going to donate the $7 million. She never really did. Then she came back and said, well, actually, I'm going to do it over a period of, 10 years. Not that $700,000 a year for 10 years that's no small potatoes. But of course, then they provided their own evidence, which they show that the Aquaman star has in fact gifted a total of $950,000 to the ACLU and $850,000 to the Children's Hospital through anonymous donors. Well, she still owes another $5 million. Now, the judge, however, has scolded her, threatens the actress with sanctions if she wastes the court's time. According to sources with knowledge of information, Judge Paneni S. Ascarte, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm sure I mispronounced all of that, of Fairfax County granted a request from the 35-year-old actress to allow her to amend her motion to dismiss. It will be the third motion by her. That means essentially 3 times she's asked the court to dismiss the suit. The other 2 times they have said, nope, the suit's going forward. The judge said during Friday morning's hearing that the third attempt at dismissal will likely prove futile, meaning the case is going forward. While AH was granted a leave to amend, the judge held that she is required to file a hefty briefing with the court by June 14th. That's 7 days from today. The judge warned that if Heard is found to have wasted the court's time, there will be legal repercussions in form of sanctions. The next hearing will take place on July 22nd. So I'm guessing neither AH or Depp were present for the hearing, but Friday was considered a win for Johnny and his team. I would say so. I mean, it would appear that the judge continues to say, and is continuing to follow through on saying, look, this case is going forward, and we're going to hear the evidence, which is obviously good for everyone covering this. It's good for probably Johnny to get more information out there. You see, in this column, in the column she wrote, she didn't mention JD by name, but the piece was widely interpreted to be about him. The actress even wrote that she became a public figure representing this type of bad behavior. Well, we later found out that AH never even wrote this article, that it was in fact written by or ghostwritten by the ACLU themselves. I can't understate that. I haven't seen anybody bringing up this point, but it's curious to me that nobody's asking this question. Was there a quid pro quo here where the ACLU said, hey, we'll write you this thing and we'll also publicly back you, but we're going to need a donation? I mean, don't you think? In fact, wasn't there a brand new article today? I think there was, here right now. You have, once a bastion of free speech, the ACLU faces an identity crisis. It was supposed to be a celebration of a grand career as the American Civil Liberties Union presented a prestigious award to longtime lawyer David Goldberger. He once argued one of the most famous cases of all time. Mr. Goldberger, a Jew who defended the free speech of those whose views he found repugnant, felt profoundly discouraged. I got the sense it was more important for the ACLU staff to identify with clients and progressive causes than stand on principle, he said in a recent interview. Liberals are leaving the First Amendment behind. The ACLU's America's highest temple for free speech and civil liberties has emerged as a rich-funded progressive powerhouse in recent years, taking on the Trump administration in more than 400 lawsuits. But the organization finds itself riven with internal tensions over whether it has stepped away from its founding principle, unwavering devotion to the First Amendment. Well, of course they have. I mean, the ACLU has become, just like the ADL and all these other watchdog organizations out there that seem to align specifically with one side of the political aisle. Its national and state staff members debate, often hotly, whether defensive speech conflicts with advocacy for a growing number of progressive causes, including voter rights, reparations, trans rights, and defunding the police. These debates mirror those on a larger culture where a belief in the centrality of free speech to American democracy contends with ever more forceful progressive arguments that things like hate speech is a form of physiological extraordinarily bad behavior. These conflicts are unsettling to many of the crusading lawyers who helped build the ACLU. The organization said of its former director, Ira Glasser, risks surrendering the original and unique mission in pursuit of, quote, progressive glory. There are a lot of organizations fighting eloquently for racial justice and immigration rights, Mr. Glasser said, but there's only one ACLU that is content neutral defender of free speech. I fear we're in danger of losing that. I would argue that we lost that several years ago, probably long before Trump ever won the presidency in 2016. The ACLU no longer is somebody that I think about when it comes to defending free speech. It just isn't. It just seems like yet another progressive funnel, place for progressives to funnel money and for them to support progressive causes. I don't think I see them as an advocate for free speech, and I haven't for a very long time. But great to hear that Amber's movie tanked. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.